What up, everybody? This video is me showing you guys how I made the change from controller to mouse and keyboard. I found this to be the most fun and easiest way to make that switch. So for anybody out there who's thinking about switching from console to being a PC player, but the main thing holding you back is that mouse and keyboard, I hope this helps you guys out the way it helped me. Quick shout out to my homie Johound, who helped me make the conversion about 2 years ago. All right, so for anybody looking to switch from a controller similar to this to mouse and keyboard, this is the best way to do it. Now, obviously, you can go default and just go straight mouse and keyboard, but two pieces of equipment that helped me out in this transition was the Logitech G502 mouse. This is very important because of the number of buttons this particular mouse has on it. And then the other switch was Azeron. I actually don't use the keyboard to play mouse and keyboard games. I use the Azeron gaming pad. It helped me make the switch way easier than going straight to keyboard. That was the main problem I was having because of all the buttons. It's just overwhelming. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the mouse portion first and how to configure the buttons that worked easiest for me. Now, as you can tell, using a controller, most of your buttons are on the right-hand side. That's why it was so important for me to use the Logitech G502. You can use whatever mouse that works easiest for you. This was the easiest for me to make the switch. Now, the big benefits to going mouse and keyboard is that mouse. If you're playing first-person shooter games, that mouse, aim down sights and shoot, you're so much faster than using the thumbstick on a controller. That's the main benefit. So I always leave your left click as your shoot button, your right click as your aim down sights. Those are defaults. Those are the buttons that I leave default. Don't switch those. That's the whole point of switching to mouse and keyboard. Now, these buttons here on the side, front and back, I use that front button closer to the front of the mouse as my jump button. I use that back button as my crouch. So if you're running, you can jump, you can slide with that crouch button. That's how I use them. Most people don't use it that way. That's the button configuration I use. This button right here became very important. This extra thumb button down here, that button defaults as a slow down your DPS for snipers. If you're like aiming down sights with your sniper, that usually will slow down your movement so you can get those pinpoint accuracy. I use that as a reload button. I configure that to my main reload. It's the easiest for me. It's kind of like your square or X button if you play Xbox. That becomes my reload. It's just easiest for me to remember that. Now, these two extra buttons down the side of your left click button, I use the top one for my normal grenade, and the bottom one becomes my normal heal. My healing items. That's what I use them for. Made a real easy, quick switch for that. And the other thing is your mouse wheel. Now, the thing about this particular mouse that's great is you have the press it in. Obviously, you can scroll up, scroll down. You can click the button in. You can also click it to the left and click it to the right. I don't use the left and the right, like clicking it side to side. That's a little too technical for me with this mouse. I don't quite get into that. But I do use the scroll wheel up, down, and click it straight in. So down becomes my change weapon button. Every time I scroll it down, it'll swap whatever weapon I'm using. My up is the select fire, whether you're going from single fire or fully automatic, depending on what weapons in what game you're playing. That's how I use it. Also, I use the button to click down as my main melee button. If I'm going in and I want to hit them with the butt of my gun, I click that in, like in Call of Duty, for instance, or Delta Force. Click that in, and it becomes my melee button. That was the easiest way for me to make that switch. Keeping most of the buttons on my right hand, just like the controller, it worked best for me. Now, going to the left hand, I use the Azeron gaming pad. There are many different gaming pads out there that you can use. This one worked the best for me. So I'm just going to go over the little buttons. Why it worked the best for me is because it has a thumbstick. I don't have to use 3 fingers to use WASD to move front, back, side to side. I don't use that. I use this thumbstick. It's just like a controller. So that's right there, an easy switch for you guys to do. This little button above the thumbstick, I use that for the D-pad. All the D-pad configurations on a controller, I switch them so that that becomes my D-pad. My thumbstick is still the same. I click in the thumbstick for my sprint button. And the good thing is the D-pad also has a button that you can click in. So you can configure that to whatever you want, whatever's going to make it easiest for you. Now, going on here, it has a button for your thumb right here. That I default to my map button. That helps me pull up my map, get rid of my map. That's an easy way. You know, it's kind of out of the way. You don't always have to use your thumb for some weird button. Just, oh, if I need to pop up my map, use the thumb. The index button, your index finger button that goes straight down, press it in. That is my main interact button. I use that to pick up weapons, get into vehicles, open doors, things like that. That becomes my main, you know, hurry up, just press the index finger down. That's my main interact button. The middle finger straight down, that becomes my ping button. I use that to ping enemies, show all my friends, hey, there's an enemy over here, or pick up this weapon right here. That's what I use that button for. Depending on the game, I can switch up your ring finger down and your little pinky finger down. Switch those depending on which games you play. Mix and match, you know, whatever's easiest for you. Now, I use these buttons to click up as my 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. That's what I use them for. Now, my friend told me it's easiest to keep it because down the line, as you can see on the keyboard, 1, 2, 3, 4 goes from the left to the right, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. I found it easier to go opposite, where my index fingers up is 1, middle finger 2, ring finger 3, and pinky finger 4. That worked best for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is what I set those buttons up for. Now, my pinky finger to the side that goes straight over to the left, I use that as my tab button, meaning it tells me, pretty much pulls up the scoreboard for whatever game I'm playing. If I'm playing Call of Duty or Delta Force, it'll let me know where I'm standing on the scoreboard. I press that or hold that, and it'll pull up the scoreboard, show me, you know, kill check, see how you're doing so far in the game. I default that button to that in just about every game. I default this button that's way out of the way, you literally have to move your finger off of it to get over there, as my escape button, which on PC games is more like your pause button or bring you to menu button. And then I'll have the index finger one up here as a quick menu that'll bring me straight up to a specific menu that'll help me, like, oh, I need to change weapons, I need to switch up, you know, whatever I'm using. I'll use that for that. These two, put whatever you want. I usually use this finger for a game that I'm using the game chat and I want to have the push to talk button activated. That would be my push to talk. I'll push that so I can speak to everybody in the chat. Otherwise, I can be talking and nobody in the game chat can hear me. That's what I use it for. Whatever works best for you. And the only other two buttons that I use on the Azeron, like I told you, this is overkill. This has way more buttons than I particularly need, but it's nice to have more than you need than less than you need, you know? So these, the index and middle finger down, I use those for games that have the leaning action when you're aiming down sights, and then you can lean around a corner. So I use the index finger down to lean to the right, the middle finger down to lean to the left. Those are all the buttons I use. These are the pieces of equipment that made it easiest for me to switch from controller to mouse and keyboard, and I hope that this video can help you. If you want to get this, or if you get any other keyboard, any other gaming pad, any other mouse, it all works. It really comes down to practice, just to be completely honest with you guys. If you go straight default with the keyboard buttons and that works easiest for you, go ahead and do that. That's great. That's most likely how everybody made the change. I'm just telling you, this was the easiest way for me to make the change. Kept it still very fun, where it didn't take me too long to have to make that adjustment with all the different buttons on the keyboard. The Azeron gaming pad made it easy for me, and the Logitech G502 made it easy for me. I hope this video helps you. Whatever you do to make that switch, just make sure whatever it is, you're having fun while you're doing it. That's what's most important. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.